Hello, welcome to Unlocking Buddhism. Have you ever felt like something invisible was holding you back? Like, you wanted to get up, do that thing, start that goal, but something just pulled you down like quicksand made of thoughts? Maybe you called it laziness, and maybe you even believed it. But what if I told you that laziness isn't what you think it is? What if I told you it's not about being weak or lazy or not good enough, but about something else? Something that tricks your brain and steals your dreams, one soft excuse at a time. Today, we're going to talk about that. We're going to break down how laziness really works, how it shows up in disguise, and how to finally beat it, not with force, but with something way more powerful. And by the end of this video, you'll see that you don't need to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect version of yourself. You just need one thing: courage, even a tiny drop of it. By the way, before we dive in, here's a little challenge. Drop the word courage in the comments right now. Not a whole sentence, not a speech, just the word. It's your little signal that you're ready to take your first step, even if it's small. You weren't lazy the way people usually say. Laziness isn't about doing nothing. It's about what happens inside your mind, that little voice that tells you to delay, to wait, to avoid. And what most people don't realize is that voice is really good at sounding reasonable. And in the moment, those words feel true. They feel kind. But what they're really doing is slowly stealing your momentum. Laziness isn't loud. It's gentle. That's what makes it so dangerous. It doesn't tell you to stop dreaming. It just convinces you to pause, and pause, and pause again, until your dreams get dusty on the shelf. And it's clever, too. It knows how to disguise itself. Sometimes, it shows up as fear. It might sound strange, but laziness often comes from the same place as perfectionism. You want to do something great, but because you're afraid it won't be perfect, you don't even begin. And that tiny hesitation? That's the opening laziness needs. Because once it gets in, it starts offering you escape routes. Suddenly, scrolling your phone feels important. Watching one more episode sounds like a reward. Organizing your desk becomes a top priority. Anything to avoid doing the thing that actually matters to you. And we believe it. We believe it every time. Because laziness doesn't feel like a lie. It feels like relief. That's why so many of us get stuck for days, weeks, even years, without realizing what's really going on. But here's the truth. Laziness isn't your enemy. It's a part of your mind trying to keep you safe. Safe from failure. Safe from effort. Safe from discomfort. The problem is, staying safe isn't the same as growing. And growth, real growth, always starts with some discomfort. So the first step to beating laziness isn't shaming yourself or forcing yourself into action. It's noticing. Becoming aware of that voice when it shows up. Recognizing the moment when you start negotiating with your dreams. Because the lazy voice will always sound like it makes sense. That's its power. But once you see it, once you catch it in the act, you take that power back. And that moment, that decision to move forward even when your brain says, "Not now," that's not a small thing. That's the moment everything starts to change. Because once you start to recognize laziness not as weakness, but as a pattern you can outsmart, you're already stronger than it. And now that we've uncovered what laziness really is, we can talk about what comes next. Because there's something most people don't realize. Even when things don't go the way you planned, just showing up already counts as a win. That might sound simple, but it's actually one of the most misunderstood parts of growth. Once you see that the lazy voice is lying to you, once you catch it whispering that you're not ready or that you'll fail anyway, your natural reaction might be, "Okay, I've got to fight it." But here's where things get tricky again. Because for a lot of us, winning means doing everything right. It means getting a result. We think if we sit down to write, we need to finish a full chapter. If we meditate, we need to find instant peace. If we go to the gym, we should feel strong right away. But that's not how real progress works. But that's not how growth actually works. Trying, really trying, doesn't mean succeeding right away. It means showing up even when you're not sure how it's going to go. It means choosing to act, not because you feel confident, but because you've decided to stop waiting for the perfect moment. And here's what nobody tells you. Even if it doesn't go well, that still counts. Let's say you want to wake up early and build a new morning routine. So one day, you set your alarm. You fight the urge to hit snooze. You get out of bed, and you feel awful. Groggy, irritated, and halfway through your plan, you quit and crawl back into bed. Now most people would say, see? But that's not true at all. You didn't fail. You moved. You broke a pattern. And even though it wasn't perfect, even though you didn't get a gold star, you've already done something powerful. You proved to yourself that change is possible. Because trying, failing, and coming back the next day, that's not weakness. That's strength in its rawest, most honest form. That's where real transformation begins. And the more you practice this, the more you see that results are just side effects. What really matters is the habit of showing up. Trying trains your courage. It strengthens your ability to sit with frustration, to face the discomfort of not being instantly good at something, and to keep going anyway. And every time you do that, you grow, not just in skill, but in resilience. But if you wait until the fear is gone, if you wait until you feel confident, clear, and completely ready, you might be waiting forever. Here's something that might blow your mind. Motivation doesn't come first. Most people think they need to feel ready before they act, but it's actually the opposite. The action comes first, and then the motivation shows up afterward. Think about it. How many times have you started doing something you didn't want to do, maybe washing dishes or going for a walk, and after a few minutes you found your rhythm? You even started enjoying it a little? That's because your brain got on board after you started moving, not before. So the next time that lazy voice tries to convince you to wait until later, until things feel right, try saying this to yourself instead. I'll feel better after I begin, not before. And yes, some days you'll take a step and fall. You'll sit to write and only stare at the screen. You'll go to the gym and feel weak. You'll try to focus, and your thoughts will race. But that's not failure. That's learning. That's stretching. That's walking into a storm and discovering you don't melt in the rain. And every time you do it, every time you try, fall, get back up and try again, you're not just pushing through laziness. You're rewriting who you believe you are. You're becoming the kind of person who doesn't need perfection to start. And that, more than anything, is what gives you the power to move forward, to keep growing, to keep showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because once you understand that effort itself is a kind of success, you'll stop being afraid to begin. But once you begin, once you've taken those first brave steps, maybe even a few in a row, another challenge quietly slips in. It doesn't shout. It doesn't slam the brakes. And the longer you keep going without seeing a big change, the louder that question becomes. And just like that, impatience starts pulling on your hand, trying to drag you back to the comfort zone. This is where most people get stuck, not because they're not trying hard enough, but because they're expecting results too soon. Somewhere along the way, we picked up this idea that if something's really right for us, it should happen quickly. That progress should be obvious. That success should feel exciting all the time. But let me ask you something. If you plant a seed in the ground, do you come back the next day and dig it up just to check if it's growing? Of course not. You know that even though you can't see it, something is happening beneath the surface. The seed is waking up. Roots are stretching into the earth, building strength. But from above, it looks like nothing's going on. That's what real growth feels like. It's slow, quiet, often invisible, and it takes way longer than we want it to. And that's when the lazy voice sneaks back in. Only this time it's wearing a new mask. Now it says, you gave it a shot, it's not working. But it's lying. Again. Because progress doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. It shows up in the smallest things. Waking up 5 minutes earlier than usual. Finishing one page of writing. Choosing to move your body when you don't feel like it. Choosing not to quit. Especially when quitting would be easy. But we miss those moments because we're always looking for something big. Something flashy. A breakthrough. a transformation. And when it doesn't come fast enough, we feel like we've failed. This mindset is everywhere. It's in the ads that promise results in 30 days. It's in the before and after pictures that never show the in-between. It's in the highlight reels we scroll through every day, comparing our messy middle to someone else's perfect-looking ending. But here's what those reels don't show you. The late nights, the early mornings, the moments of doubt, the quiet decision, made 1,000 times to keep going anyway. The truth is, anything that matters, anything worth building, will take longer than you want it to. And that's not a problem. That's a promise. Because the longer something takes to build, the more solid it becomes. The more roots it has. The more real it feels when you finally look back and realize how far you've come. And here's something no one talks about. When you let go of the need for speed, you actually start enjoying the process more. You stop racing the clock. You stop measuring every effort against some imaginary finish line. And you start paying attention to what's right in front of you. You start noticing how your thoughts change, how your energy shifts, how your confidence builds, not because of the results, but because of the effort itself. And that's when you become unstoppable. Not because you move fast, but because you don't stop moving. It's like crossing a desert. If you run, you'll burn out before you find water. But if you move too slow, the sun will catch up with you. So you find a rhythm. One step, then another. You don't think about the whole journey, just the next few steps, just today. You're not racing anyone. You're not late. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be, because growth isn't a race. It's a rhythm. And once you learn to move at your own pace, patiently, steadily, you realize you don't need results to feel proud. You just need to keep going. And that is what separates the people who stay stuck from the ones who build something real. But just when you think you've found your rhythm, when you've started acting even when it's hard, when you've let go of the need for fast results, when you've begun showing up again and again, another kind of challenge appears. This one doesn't crash in like a storm. It doesn't knock you down. It's quieter, softer, familiar. It feels like a hug. It's comfort. Comfort doesn't feel like a threat. It feels like a reward. You've had a long day. You deserve to relax. You've made progress. Why not take a break? You're tired. Why push yourself? And honestly, that sounds fair. Rest is important. Pleasure is part of life. We do need recovery. But what we often forget is this. Comfort has a dark side. It's quiet, almost invisible. And if we're not careful, it becomes a soft prison. It starts small. You sleep in just one morning. You skip the workout once. You delay that uncomfortable conversation, or postpone that project you were finally starting. And the world doesn't end. Nothing explodes. So you do it again and again. And before you know it, you're stuck in a loop. A loop where comfort becomes the new normal, where the idea of doing something hard, something uncertain, something that stretches you, starts to feel too much. What was once simply relaxing has now turned into avoidance. Not because you're lazy, not because you're weak, but because you've let comfort decide your limits for you. And here's the part no one talks about. Comfort feels nice, until it doesn't. Until it becomes boredom, restlessness. A quiet feeling deep inside that you're meant for more, but you're too cozy to reach for it. You scroll your phone for hours, and somehow feel more tired. You avoid the hard task, and somehow feel heavier. That's the hidden cost of comfort. It soothes your surface, but leaves your soul unsettled. And the more you feed it, the more it demands. And it sounds reasonable. But if you listen long enough, you'll start to feel disconnected from your own potential, like you've forgotten what it feels like to be proud of yourself. That's why discomfort is so important. Not as punishment, but as proof. Proof that you're moving, that you're growing, that you haven't given up on yourself. Because the truth is, comfort zones don't just protect you from stress, they also protect you from transformation. And transformation only happens when you step outside the warmth. When you feel the cold air of doubt and step forward anyway. You don't need to go to war with comfort. You don't need to reject every cozy thing in your life. But you do need to see it clearly. You need to recognize when comfort is serving your recovery and when it's sabotaging your growth. And the best way to do that, ask yourself one simple question. Is this helping me become who I want to be? If the answer is yes, enjoy it. Breathe it in. But if the answer is no, then maybe it's time to stretch, to sit up, to move forward, even if it's uncomfortable. Because the version of you that you admire, the stronger, calmer, more focused version, that person isn't created in comfort. That person is built in the quiet, difficult moments when you choose progress over pleasure. And the amazing thing is, the more you do it, the more your relationship with discomfort changes. It stops feeling like suffering. It starts to feel like freedom. Because when you can face something hard and not run, when you can sit with uncertainty and not shrink, when you can walk straight into effort knowing it won't be easy, but it will be worth it, that's when you become powerful. That's when you stop being pulled by pleasure and start being led by purpose. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you'll look at your day, your choices, your reflection, and feel proud. Not because it was easy, but because you did it anyway. And after everything we've uncovered, how laziness works in disguise, how perfection holds us back, how our obsession with speed sabotages us, and how comfort quietly traps us, there's one truth that shines brighter than all the rest. You don't need to do something massive to change your life. You just need to do something honest. Because the change you're looking for, it doesn't come from motivation alone. It doesn't come from waiting for the stars to align or from getting everything right on the first try. It comes from choosing, again and again, to keep showing up. And it's in the smallest, most ordinary moments that this change is born. It's when you get out of bed when every part of you wants to stay. It's when you sit down to work without knowing if anything you do will be good. It's when you turn off the noise and choose stillness, even if it's uncomfortable. These moments might not feel like progress. They won't always look heroic, but they are, because they're happening when it's hard, and that's what makes them powerful. Anyone can move forward when it's easy, but when you keep going while it's uncertain, when no one's watching, when you feel doubt in your chest and still choose effort, that's where real character is formed. And what's wild is, this strength is already in you. It's not something you have to go find. You don't need a 10-step plan or a perfect mindset. What you need is willingness. Just that. The willingness to do one hard thing, one small brave thing, and then let that moment carry you to the next. It doesn't matter if you fall. You will. Everyone does. What matters is that you get up without needing everything to be perfect first. That's the difference between people who stay stuck and people who grow. Not that one group never fails, but that one group doesn't let failure decide who they are. And that message, it rewires you. It changes the way you see yourself, not as someone who wants to change, but as someone who is changing. Little by little, you start trusting your own effort. You stop needing results to feel proud. You stop waiting for approval, or permission, or clarity. And that's when momentum shows up. Not in huge wins, not in viral success or overnight transformation, but in tiny daily decisions, in brushing your teeth when you're exhausted, in closing your eyes to breathe when the world is too loud, in writing a single paragraph, in going for a walk even when the couch is calling your name. Those moments add up, quietly, steadily. They become who you are. And one day, almost without noticing, you look back and realize you've become the kind of person you used to admire, the kind of person you didn't think you had the discipline to become, the kind of person who keeps promises, to others, sure, but most importantly to themselves. And that's the most powerful thing of all, because once you've proven to yourself that you can keep going, especially on the days when everything in you wants to stop, you become unstoppable, you become steady, you become grounded, you become free. So here's the invitation. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait to feel inspired. You don't need a perfect plan or a flawless mindset. You just need to begin. Right here, right now, with one honest, human, imperfect step. And then, begin again tomorrow. So here we are. You made it to the end. Not just to the end of a video, but maybe to the end of an old way of thinking. Maybe today you realize that you're not lazy, you're just human. That the resistance you feel isn't proof of weakness, but a sign that something matters. That fear, doubt, and hesitation don't mean you're on the wrong path. They mean you're standing at the edge of your comfort zone, right where growth begins. Because now you know, it was never about those things. It was always about how you respond to the quiet moments, the small battles, the invisible choices. And here's what's amazing. You don't need to wait for a huge moment to turn everything around. You don't need to hit rock bottom or wait for a wave of motivation to finally crash over you. All you need is a decision, a quiet, unglamorous, deeply powerful decision to move. Not perfectly, not impressively, just honestly. To do one small thing today, something that aligns with who you want to become. And that's it. That's where transformation starts. Not with a dramatic speech or a perfect morning routine, but with one person, you, choosing not to give up on themselves, just for today. And if you made it this far, then guess what? You already took that step. You listened, you reflected, you stayed. That matters. It really, really matters. So here's what I want you to do next. Pause, just for a moment. Feel what's shifted in you. Maybe it's subtle, maybe it's small. That's okay. Growth often starts as a whisper, not a roar. And then, go to the comments and write one thing. Just one thing you're going to do today. Something real. It could be 5 minutes of writing, a short walk, turning off your phone for half an hour, saying no to something that drains you. Doesn't matter what it is, only that you choose it. Because that's where everything starts. If this video spoke to you, help it speak to someone else. Give it a like. Share it. Subscribe if you want to go deeper with us on this journey. But more importantly, make a promise to yourself. Not a loud, dramatic one. A quiet one. A small one. One you're ready to keep. Because you don't have to change everything today. You just have to begin. And tomorrow, we'll keep going. Together.